very, very special guest. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an actor, writer, producer. He's even a minister. And he has an incredible one-man show that's getting ready to tour the world, and he's taking this message to the world. And this gentleman is Mr. Kenneth Foster.
Oh, hi PhiL.
How you doing, buddy? I want us to just tell us a little bit about yourself before you go into your show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an actor.
Yes. And
recently ordained minister, which I'm really, really honored that God would ordain me. I grew up like a normal kid.
That's right.
In Houston, Texas.
Houston.
And got bitten early by the acting bug. My best friend came over to my house and asked me to audition with him. I thought he was like maybe a little daffy, but we were in the band together, so I accommodated him and I auditioned for this play called The Fantastics. And never knowing that, because I was just trying to help him out, that the acting teacher said he could do the part if I would do it with him. It was a play called The Fantastics, and then I went out on stage and the audience just erupted in laughter. And I was just infected by it, and I couldn't stop doing it after that. Wow,
so after that you moved out here to Los Angeles? Is that how that worked?
Well, kind of. It was a roundabout. I actually graduated from high school, and then I had an uncle that lived in Chicago, and my mom said, why don't you go and stay with him? He's in Chicago, they know more about acting out there. So I went and stayed with him, and I got accepted into a dramatic school, drama school called Goodman. And also, who suggested I go there was Meshach Taylor. Okay. And this is before he became a household name. He said, you should go to the Goodman School of Theater and learn acting. So I did it. Wow. And I got accepted because you have to audition to get in there. Yeah. And never knowing that it was going to be foundation for my ministry, because I learned classical training there. Wow. And my play, the Book of Mark, is kind of a classic style of acting. Okay. As it was mostly white people that were going there at school, and I always felt a little intimidated. I felt out like I didn't really fit in. And I would sometimes ask God, why do you have me here? I don't feel comfortable here. Yeah. Not knowing that I would be studying Shakespeare and all these wonderful, wonderful European style acting. Yeah. And then when I was asked to do the Book of Mark, I said, it's going to be really hard. But because of my training, it had prepared me for this play that I now do.
That's amazing, and I gotta say, I've always wanted to do Shakespeare, so I've never I envy you for that.
PhiL, you could do Shakespeare anytime.
Oh, I love it.
You know, I used to be intimidated by it, and then when I started reading it and I broke it down, I began to realize Shakespeare was just someone writing about his time. The people of his time, and they spoke a little differently than we speak now. But for instance, say like Tupac Shakur, you know, when I used to listen to his raps, I would be a little intimidated because of the vernacular. Right. But then when I began to understand what he was saying, it was easier for me to relate to it. And I think Shakespeare is pretty much like that. Tupac was probably the Shakespeare of his age.
Wow, so you've been, I know that recently you had a show, Chicago Rum Boogie.
And I'm doing it now.
You're doing it now. And it was nominated for an NAACP award, and I know you star in that show, and I understand it's going when?
Well, right now we're going to do it in a huge venue in San Pedro. And I do play this awesome character named Two Gun Pete, which is like a kid getting to play, what's that character name with the mask?
Robin?
No, the cowboy.
The cowboy?
Lone Ranger. Yeah, I get to ride in, and every night I get to shoot everybody. Yeah. I'm Two Gun Pete, this character. He's mythical, but he's a real person. And he was a cop in Chicago in the 1940s.
So this is based on a true story?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's historical, literally. And Jerry Jones, which writes kind of like these offshoot, kind of like eccentric African-American kind of like...
that's fun.
And this one is really, really cool. And all these wonderful people like Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, all these wonderful African-American, and even Frank Sinatra. So it's a part of this kind of like, I look at it, you know, like right now we're in the February Civil Rights Movement.
That's right.
But I think in this play it shows how the cultures were coming together, doing the music. The music brought us together. And all these jazz artists from that period, you know, the races began to come together to listen to this jazz.
Now that show is, you told me, or you might have mentioned that it's getting ready to go overseas.
Well, they're hoping to take it to Europe.
Oh, that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, and I'm a fan. You know, just gotta get the word out and get people behind it. But I think it's going to be such a popular play that I think it's going to go forward.
Well, I got to see you in that show, and I was so blown away by your performance. And then I got to see your one-man show, which was the Book of Mark. How did that happen, man? It's the Book of Mark.
Wow.
It's the book that I studied, and here it is, up, and it's being introduced and performed.
This is me in the Book of Mark. And this is me also in a TV drama called Get Thee Behind Me.
Oh.
So I've been gifted. I guess I'm kind of a character actor. Okay. I assume characters and I just kind of like flush them out. But this was, like you said, how it came about was really, really, to me, very unusual. Mm-hmm. After graduating from college, I just said I grew up in Houston.
Right.
And then I went to Chicago. Somewhere in the mix, I suffered a long time from depression and drug abuse and alcoholism. And I went back to Houston. I got this wonderful job at this theater company called the Alley Theater. And during that time, my depression and drug addiction went overload. Yeah. And the director of the theater company found out that I had was just out of control. So she called me in the office and said, Ken, I know you're a really cool actor and everything, but we got this word back that you are suffering from addictions and things. Yeah. You need to get some treatment and we're going to help you. And after the end of the run of this play I was in, I checked myself into this program, not knowing it was a Christian program. Wow. And it took me to San Antonio, Texas, where I met this young lady who also suffered from depression and bipolar. Yeah. And she had answered an ad in the paper because she found it difficult to find work with her condition. Right. But this lady took her into her home. She needed somebody to help her. Yeah. She was going through treatment because she had this huge tumor in her head that left her paralyzed. She was an elderly woman. Right. My friend moved into her home. Come to find out, this lady was from New York City, and she had seen an English actor named Alec McGowan do the Book of Mark in New York on Broadway. Right. And so my friend said, my boyfriend, he loves Shakespeare. That's all he ever talks about. He's always doing Shakespeare for me. She invited me into her home, and she had all these wonderful Bibles out. She had this beautiful, beautiful country-style home out in the desert. And she had a grand piano in the living. She was wealthy, but she was a patron of the arts. Right. And she was a scholar. She said, Kenneth, would you consider doing the Book of Mark as a way of showing God your appreciation for your newfound salvation? And I said, what did that tumor do to you, lady? What came out of my mouth was, sure, Betty, why not? Yeah. Her name was Betty Rowe. She was the wife of this famous athlete from the New York Giants called Kyle Rote. And she had been his trophy wife. But when she had this stroke that left her paralyzed, he divorced her. And she just touched my heart so deeply, I said, I have to do this for this lady. Yeah. But first of all, I just said, this is impossible. One actor standing on stage doing the Book of Mark is insanity. Yeah. So I ran. I hitchhiked out of San Antonio.
Let me tell you, I understand.
And I ended up here in Los Angeles. But that word and that book stayed in my heart. And I commenced to memorizing the scriptures. And it took me quite a long time. We're talking years. Wow. To get the scriptures into my head. Wow. And I continued to pursue my career. I went through a struggle, a battle again with drugs and alcohol, but God delivered me back in 2000. It's a blessing. Here in Los Angeles. Wow. And I've been seeking him ever since. And I went to West Angeles where I became a member. Okay. And I went to the Bible college. And through other adversities, I ended up leading one of their ministries, Ministry of the Arts, where I got to do what you're doing right now, interviewing people that were Christian artists doing their work here in Hollywood and trying to follow Christ.
Wow, that's amazing. So now your show, you're getting ready to take it out. Mm-hmm. And
I think that's the vision that God gave me from the very beginning, is to take this across the United States and ultimately to foreign countries. And I'm now walking in my purpose.
I love it.
I'm living the dream that I've always had, is to take the Book of Mark across America. After doing it in West Angeles, I'm going to go back to my hometown in Texas, do it there, maybe go to Louisiana, and then start the trip across the country.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing, man.
And I'm thanking you, because this is all a part of that.
I don't know. Oh, thank you for that, man. We are so excited. Now, is there a website? Is there an email?
You can go to saintsformark.web.com, and you'll see the Mark Drama Ministry.
Wow.
And if you want to support the ministry, if you want to find out what's going on with me and the Book of Mark, you can log on to that website. It's again Saints for Mark, SAINTS, for the letter 4, MARK.
Wow.
.web.com.
Wow, man, you are so incredible. You're such a humble spirit, and you've always encouraged and inspired me, man. And after you share
it's a mutual thing, Phil. I saw your show, and I was dancing and running straight. I said, "Here's someone that's doing what I'm doing,"
well,
because sometimes you feel alone out here.
Well, the feelings are mutual, man. I know when I saw your show, I was like, my mouth was just dropped open. I was like, because it was just so amazing, and then the word just going forth.
Kicking it with PhiL in them. How cool is that?
So I want him to, try to get another picture of this so people will see the Book of Mark again. And you got such an incredible story, man. I want you to come back and talk with us again. And you know what, Mr. Foster, I want to say thank you for kicking it with me.
Man, there's no one else I'd rather kick it with than PhiL. He's a cool homie.